Welcome to Airgun Extra, brought to you in association with Crackshot, the Southwest's premier airgun centre and ranges. In this week's episode, I'm going to be taking a look at the Walther Reign M2 bullpup PCP, but before that, it's back to the grey squirrel control. Here's one, mate. Well, that was a good start. In all honesty, I wasn't expecting much to happen until the light really starts to dip. I've mentioned before at this feeder, it seems to be that the squirrels have been bothered by buzzards and it's making them very reluctant to come out much before dusk. And as it happened then, although it's shady where I'm sat, the sun was actually clipping the feeder then, and that squirrel was happy to come out. And I can only imagine it's because it's been raining most of the day, it's dry now, and I guess they've probably been holed up and they're eager to get out and feed. But the light's really going to start to fade soon, and I imagine we will then start to see a lot more squirrels. Here we go. And there's another one. The light's starting to fade now, and sure enough, the squirrels are venturing out to feed, but they really are on edge. And that one, it seemed to have sensed us. It didn't look like it was going to come all the way down to the feeder, so I just went ahead and shot it off the tree trunk. And as I hope you're able to see, the Huntsman and King Cobra combos absolutely pinpoint. Now actually we have already shot a little bit about the kit and the tactics that I'm using this evening, but we thought we'd get the video straight into the action, so what we'll do is we'll tack that onto the end. that one was actually pretty confident. Now I've been shooting this particular feeder for quite a while now, and it got to the point that activity had almost died down to virtually nothing. And just as I was thinking about moving the feeder to another spot and starting over again, a block of woodland had a lot of tree felling work done very close by to this particular block, and it must have displaced quite a few grey squirrels that have moved in, homed in on this feeder again, and as you can see, it's pretty productive. And yet another one that didn't want to venture all the way to the feeder. Now they are really, really edgy, but also with two of us here, there is quite a lot of disturbance. Incidentally, a pretty big branch actually came down on this hide just a few weeks ago during some really stormy weather. Now, luckily, I wasn't in here at the time, but it's quite an important lesson. Firstly, on just taking care in the woods when it's windy, but secondly, looking up and checking for dead branches before you choose your hide site. Well, that one was having a proper munch, but I'm actually going to make that the last one because the light's going now and I want to pick up the squirrels which are going to a birds of prey centre before it's too dark to see. So we're going to head off and do that now, and we will leave you with that summary of the kit and tactics from today's shoot. Well, as you will hopefully have seen, it's all about the squirrels today. Now, I'm controlling them in these woods mostly to reduce the damage that they're causing to the trees here through their bark stripping, and from what I've heard from other people, squirrel damage has been worse than ever in woods across the country this year. Now here, my usual approach is to use a bait station. Not so good at the moment because the woodland is awash with acorns, so you've got that alternative food source. Now that problem will probably have passed by the time you see this video, but I've been getting around it by using peanuts in my feeders, which are a real high attraction, but also I've flavoured them with aniseed just to give them a little bit more pulling power, and it has got the squirrels coming. So the feeder that I use more often than any other these days is made by Keith's High Seats. I talk about it quite a lot, but it is frankly brilliant. It's not a cheap feeder, but it's built like an absolute tank and should last for years and years. Now, these feeders are actually made by a chap called Keith Watson. If you look him up on Facebook, you'll see that he does a heck of a lot of squirrel control himself, and he really does know what he's doing. So, actual hardware-wise, the gun for today is the Daystate Huntsman Revere Safari Edition. This one is a 177 caliber sub 12 foot-pounds. I have paired it with the MTC King Cobra scope, which is held on with my ever faithful Sportsmatch scope mounts. And you'll see that I've also got the Eagle Vision GoPro attachment to film through the King Cobra today. Hope we don't lose too much light through that. It usually gets pretty good footage. Now this is a combo that I use a lot these days. It's accurate, it looks great, and most importantly it's an absolute joy to shoot. I've actually paired the Huntsman with QYS streamlined pellets. It really likes them. Now I can't guarantee that every airgun is going to shoot the same with those pellets, but they're clean, they're consistent. A lot of my guns really like them, so they're certainly worth giving a try. So I think that's the kit and the tactics covered. Hopefully you'll have seen me putting it to good use just now. The Safari edition of the Daystate Huntsman doing a brilliant job on the grey squirrels again there. Now on the subject of Daystate, they have just sent me a copy of their Performance Centre catalogue. Now I've obviously got a hard copy here, but you can also access it online and it makes for brilliant reading, especially if you've got some Christmas money burning a hole in your pocket. Anyway, back to this week's episode, and next up we've got the Walther Reign M2. Here we have a bullpup PCP that has established quite a following over the past couple of years. It's the Walther Reign M2 from John Rothery Wholesale, and it has a recommended retail price of just under £765. Now, the obvious standout feature of this airgun is its very compact design. It's only just long enough to fit on my stand. However, there's much more to it than that. So, the Reign M2 measures just 66 centimetres with its supplied muzzle brake fitted, and tips the scales at just a shade over 2.9 kilos before you fit a scope. Now, those proportions keep its weight very close to your body, which makes it really nice to shoot. Also, being so small, it's no burden to carry, and that should really appeal to shooters who don't want to be bogged down out in the field. There's no denying that this is a very distinctive looking airgun. Now, its ambidextrous synthetic stock is tough and quick and easy to wipe clean. Now, it also completely encloses the air bottle, giving the Reign M2 a look all of its own. Now, apart from wrapping around the bottle, that chunky forend also incorporates some really crisp multi-directional stippling which literally sticks to your hand. Now, there is also a Picatinny accessory rail which should be perfect for bipod attachment. The steep, chunky pistol grip is a real palm filler and sets me up brilliantly for the trigger. Now, there are panels of that same super grippy stippling on both sides, and the grip sweeps back into a thumb hole cutaway. Now, it's a nice, generous cutaway with plenty of room for larger hands. You want a high cheek piece on an airgun that you're going to be using with a telescopic sight, and that is exactly what you get here. It's a great fit and it makes for brilliant eye scope alignment. The butt section is finished with a chunky pad which really grips into the shoulder. Scope mounting is by means of a very secure Picatinny rail. Now, you could swap it out for the Walther Prism 11mm dovetail rail, which I think retails for just under £60. Now, the standard Picatinny rail is about 22 centimetres long, and as you can see, it isn't interrupted by a magazine. So whether you're planning to fit a telescopic sight, a thermal optic or night vision, that should give you plenty of clamping space. The barrel on the Reign M2 is 500mm long. Now, being of a bullpup design, that barrel goes all the way back towards the magazine, which is positioned towards the rear of the gun, and that is why this is such a stubby little airgun. Now, the barrel isn't shrouded. It comes supplied with the muzzle brake that you can see here, and it is threaded 1/2 inch UNF. And if you're a hunter like me, you will probably want to take advantage of that, screw off the muzzle brake and swap it out for a silencer. The design of the trigger blade isn't particularly sophisticated, but it's still very comfortable. It's got a gentle curve and a wide face, which transmits plenty of feel. So it's a two-stage mechanism, and it is adjustable. The only snag being that you need to remove 16 screws to open up the stock in order to do that. Now, thankfully, the trigger on this gun was set up very well at the factory,
In fact, it feels a lot better than what I would expect to find on a bullpup at this price point. The first stage weight and travel feel pretty standard. Then there's a very clear stop before a light but very crisp and predictable second stage brake. There's a crossbolt type safety catch positioned just above the trigger blade. Now I think that's a really good place for it. It's nice and close to the trigger for easy operation, yet not precariously close. Now it can go across with a bit of a click, but you can stop that by just applying a bit of resistance from the opposite side, and that will stop it from attracting the attention of any wary quarry if you're out hunting. You push it across from right to left to make the gun safe, and then push it back across from the left when you're ready to take the shot. The Reign M2 has a multi-shot action, and at the heart of that is a cassette type magazine which holds 10 shots in .22 caliber and 11 in .177. Now it has sufficient depth to hold pretty long pellets and slugs, and it can be slotted in from either side, which left-handers should really appreciate. Now another nice feature of this magazine is that it's really easy to load, and pellets can't fall out of the bottom as you drop them in. All you need to do is hold it with the arrow facing away from you, drop a pellet in nose first, and then turn the inner drum to reveal the next chamber, drop a pellet into there, and then keep going until it's full. That brilliant magazine is driven by a side lever action. Now it's nicely positioned well forward, and it can also be swapped over to the opposite side for left-handers, which I think is a really important feature on an ambidextrous airgun. Now it's got a drop-down handle, and its positioning has meant that my hand has instinctively found its way to it. Now it's also sprung, so it starts to flip back into that rearward stroke as soon as you disengage it. In terms of reliability, it's worked brilliantly for me with no snagging. It's very positive and just does a really reliable job of cocking and loading. The Reign M2 is stated as being a regulated airgun, and it's not too shabby over the chrono. So shooting H&N Barracuda 8s, the .177 caliber test gun has been producing about 11.5 foot-pounds with a variation staying within 7 feet per second over a 10-shot string. Now that variation has spread to a slightly larger 16 feet per second over a 50-shot string. Air pressure is displayed on a very easy to read gauge, which is sunk into the right hand side of the stock. Maximum fill pressure is 232 bar. From that you can expect 140 shots in .177 caliber and 180 in .22. Refilling with air is really simple. Simply pull out the discrete plug from the inlet next to the air gauge and then plug in with the supplied probe. I have really enjoyed shooting this airgun over the past couple of weeks. It's really comfortable to shoot, whether you're standing, kneeling, sitting, or shooting from the support of a bench. Now, running those Barracuda 8s, this airgun has literally been stacking pellets at 20 meters, and at 30 meters, it's still consistently producing ragged single hole groups. Now, obviously that's shooting from the support of a bench in calm conditions. Now, at 40 meters, those groups are opening up a little bit, but they're still remaining sub 1 inch. So, as long as you stick to the usual responsible sub 12 airgun ranges, this one is well up to tackling live quarry. So, that is the Walther Reign M2. Now, I think this little airgun lends itself perfectly to shooting in cramped conditions, whether from a hide, around farm buildings, or even from the cab of a truck. And also, being so small and relatively light to carry, roving hunters should love it too. And on top of that, it's just been a joy to shoot on the range and also in the garden. Now, there are FAC rated versions available in .22 and .25 calibers, but I've got to say that for pure versatility, I reckon this sub 12 model should more than meet the needs of most UK airgun hunters.
I'm afraid that's all we have time for. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks also to our main sponsor, Crackshot. You can check them out at crackshot.uk and also on Facebook. Now, before I go, I'd just like to take this opportunity to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a happy, healthy New Year from myself and the rest of the Airgun Extra team. Now, we'll be back with much more in 2025. In the meantime, do check out our website, airgunextra.com, where you can access free-to-read hunting articles and airgun reviews. Hopefully you'll have time to get out and about over the Christmas break. If you do, enjoy your shooting and stay safe.